Hello, everyone. Um, Tonight I thought I would just briefly talk about styles a little bit. Everybody assumes you go to take lessons, you're going to learn a little Chopin, a little Beethoven, a little Mozart, um, maybe a little Gershwin or Joplin. They will go that far, but they don't talk much about um, popular music, whether it be popular songs from the past or currently, show tunes, soundtracks, that kind of thing. And the first comment to be made about that is you have to develop a technique regardless of what style of music you're playing. The main difference with what we call popular music, is that the arrangements are not always set. The pieces were not written for the piano. They are arrangements one way or another. And we have the freedom, which isn't always something that we are happy about, to make our own decisions as to what we're going to do. For example, if you went out to buy the sheet music to the song Yesterday by the Beatles or Paul McCartney, actually, you might see the easy arrangement book. Never buy those, by the way. The first thing they do with those things is they kill the rhythm. Remember, he sat and played the guitar and sang when they did it with the band they added a few other guys. So because it's a group and you're covering for people, there are things you can do. Some instruments you're not going to be able to copy. You can't do a screaming electric guitar. You can't do a rhythm that's impossible to do while you're trying to get the drum kit sound. In a soundtrack, you can't get the sound of a synthesizer being used to make a funny sound. So we have to be very careful that we write, or that when we play, we're making it the best we can for the piano. Some pieces work quite well on the piano. Yesterday is a good vocal piece with rhythm, but not a lot of rhythm. On his album, he does kind of that kind of thing. But we can change that a little bit and make it more pianistic. You get the idea. That's not the way Paul McCartney did it, okay? It's what we call stylized. And part of this was my own stylization. We have the tune, we have the rhythm. I try to get a little bass line in. You can hear it down there. Now, what does that do to the pianist? It makes it a little harder. See, we have this fine line as composers or arrangers of we want to make it sound good, but we also want to make it playable. Very often, it gets too hard this direction, and this direction it gets boring. The sound gets boring. All your easy arrangements are here. Let's make it real playable. Is there a difference between show music and pop music and soundtracks and all that stuff? No, not really. They used Pachelbel's Canon for a soundtrack, and Pachelbel wrote it for string orchestra. And there are arrangements that try to copy that original arrangement. So even classical music sometimes is not something that was written down. Beethoven wrote the notes he wanted played exactly as he played them. Okay? And there are some jazz arrangements that, for example, That's an Andre Previn piece called Like Young. I love the piece. I've always been playing it. But I go beyond what he did very often. You heard that beginning. Very often when I make the repeat of that part, I play the bass. I play the bass much more actively. Now, he didn't write that down. That was my own decision to do that. The first time he does, I'm trying to think of another section. The next time I play that section, I play it like this. Yeah. I play it differently the next time. But, so you're figuring, well, how the heck am I going to do that? I'm having trouble reading the original notes. Well, see, that's the whole thing. Most people that like this type of stuff learn a bit of what we call keyboard harmony. You'll hear other people say theory. I don't go for that. I think keyboard harmony is the theory that you would need to learn. In other words, that's an A minor 7th chord. That's a D7 chord. And we learn about those things. I know right now, if you've never heard of this stuff, I'm not trying to teach it to you right now. So what I'm doing, I'm using that keyboard harmony and I'm re-establishing slightly different rhythmic feel for it. Be like the difference between playing what I played before with Yesterday that way, or using an Alberti bass and changing that pattern around a little bit. He didn't do anything like that, so if you like that, then you do that. Everybody's going to know you're playing Yesterday if they know the song. Okay? So this is I'm trying to introduce you to these different styles and tell you that you don't buy the sheet music and go, okay, I'm a slave to it like you are to the notes Beethoven wrote. Although, to be honest with you, I very often will change a note in Beethoven. Very few in Beethoven, a couple in Chopin. Composers like Haydn and Liszt, you can go a little further with your changes if you like the piece and you like this a little bit better. Nobody's going to notice the difference. But they did write the notes out. They wrote every note out to be played the way that they thought was the best way to play. And some performers make minor little adjustments here and there. Can you make major adjustments to Beethoven? You can, but it's not going to be considered legitimate, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to be considered entertaining. Entertainment is whatever entertains people, it's right. If it entertains, it's right. If they like it, it's right. Okay? So that's a very hard concept for people to get sometimes. But are there scales in popular music? Yes. Are there arpeggios? There can be. Are there octaves? A lot of octaves. I did an arrangement of Elton John's I'm Still Standing. Now, I wrote it for a level that I'm at. I don't know what they wrote in the book. I see this stuff in the book, and it's like, it's over here, it's easy. And they left out spice, a lot of the spice. But to play some of this music can take a good deal of technique. Now that's a lot of octaves, that's a lot of wrist staccato. Not an easy thing to do. And I mean off the top. I don't care if you're playing this or Beethoven. To do a staccato that quickly. Okay? It takes, and all these inversions of the chords and getting used to them. Yeah, that's not easy material. And what would they write as an easy arrangement? I don't know. They probably wouldn't put it in that key. They'd probably put it on white keys. They might do that. And it sounds like it. It's not too horrible. hard to say. I can't say what they would do. But that would be the easier arrangement, perhaps. Later in the piece, it's all octaves. In my arrangement. That's my arrangement, my own personal. Take a piece like Jump Shout Boogie. That's a nightmare. Let's look at it at quarter speed. Doesn't even sound very good at the slow speed, does it? So you can see. Kids say to me, can we do something more popular, because it'd probably be a little easier for me because I know how it goes. No, sorry. Remember the concept that what you're doing is you're imitating a group. When you have a show tune, there's a pit orchestra and a soloist, and in some numbers they have more than one singer. You're imitating that. In a soundtrack, they have large orchestras for those soundtracks. And if it's a rock band kind of thing, then you're back to, well, a lot of soundtracks use popular songs, so we're right back to popular music. But there is stylization, and stylization is when you take a tune and now that's like a Mozart sonata. George Shearing played Hey Jude like that. I love it. I think it's great. But it's not like it's not exactly like the original. It's far from, not far from, but it has its own charm, as I said, because it's a piano piece. And if it sounds good on the piano and it's entertaining on the piano, then it's right. Okay? You can do I actually, part of my work involves making arrangements of these popular pieces and then selling the sheet music. And I sell quite a bit of it because people like my piano arrangements of a piece. You get the idea. Stylized, a little cocktail maybe, what we would call cocktail piano. And it's capturing what I consider to be the song, the way it sounds good on the piano. So I would say the biggest thing for you to do if you want to play this material is you got to search out the best arrangements. Not easy to do. You might go on YouTube and see if somebody plays the piece and you go, oh, I really like that, and see if either they arranged it or they have an arrangement or they've listed the sheet music that they have in the YouTube video. Be nice if they did do that. And then you can get the sheet music. But on the other hand, you also have to learn some things about keyboard harmony and about these styles and about what you can do. I try to give a kind of a broad spectrum of music to students so they learn a little bit about bass lines. And we talk about the keyboard harmony kind of peripherally to people that want to learn it. I teach them directly. But I was thinking during these videos, these broadcasts, that I might introduce a little keyboard harmony. All your major chords. And we get the camera right in there so you can imitate them. So that you know like the beginning of yesterday. Well, all these notes come from F major. You have the one neighbor tone here. That's called the neighbor tone. Don't have to know about it right now. E7, A7, D minor, B flat, C, F. Okay? And it helps with learning even Beethoven. The more keyboard harmony you know, the more you start looking at pieces and going, oh, that, and that. It's a language like any other. You got to remember the day before you walked, that was hard, okay? Before you wrote, that was hard. This is, that's another another video I want to do is called What is Hard? What makes something hard? Maybe tomorrow night. But I'm just having a little fun tonight with this because I just want to introduce it to you that not all notes are sacred off a page. They're there to get you started. If you like the sound of it, that's good. This is my own arrangement of yesterday. I played it out of the songbook until I said, you know what? I got to get some rhythm here. I got to fill the chords more. I've got to get more interest in it. I have to like it, so I like it. And I haven't put that one up online yet. This is one that I did some work on, A Whole New World. Some of this is my writing, but I think this was a fairly good arrangement in the book. Yeah, I'm just flipping through this to find pop stuff. The jazz piece here, The Bassman Walketh. I love that piece. That's kind of more classical. We play that off the page. But you take something as simple as Over the Rainbow, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, where you've got some chords. See, it's a nice enough tune that's all you need. You don't have to go crazy. That's a rather simple arrangement. It's a good sounding arrangement, and there's enough from the original to make it workable. And the other reason that you don't get them at lessons, there are a couple of reasons you may not be getting this kind of music at lessons. One of them is most teachers don't do it because, to be frank, they don't play a lot of it because they only learn to play some of the stuff out of the classical books. And they don't know how to talk about the keyboard harmony and that kind of thing. A lot of teachers do. I'm just saying some don't. The other reason is that to put those pieces in a method book, they would have to pay royalties. They're all copyrighted. So, you're finding a way around the copyright laws can be tough. Not that anybody's trying to break them. It's just that kids come in, they want to learn a piece, and if you know a little keyboard harmony, you can show them the piece. Playing by ear, very important talent to have. Most people can do it. I did it when I was very young. I started looking for tunes, looking for the chords, looking for the way it sounded. I saved a lot of money on sheet music. In fact, my Billy Joel Just the Way You Are was pretty much played off the record in a way that I thought it sounded good on the piano, and that was done 40 years ago. And that arrangement actually sells quite well on Sheet Music Plus. Anyway, that's a little introduction to this concept of pop, not popular music. It's all music. It's what do we want to do with it? And that's the part that most people never learn about. Oh, I thought you had to play it exactly as it was in the book. Well, some things you do, they sound best that way. Frankly, they sound best that way. But they're popular music, it can be... one of my students wanted to play Steppin' Out by Joe Jackson, and it goes, what was it? In the arrangement he sent me, it was this little little thing at the bottom, and the way it goes, I started showing him the other night. It goes that way. That's not an easy left hand to do. That's a tough left hand. But that's the way it sounds on the record. And then you got the right hand up here. What was it again? Dun, dun. No. It's yeah, and it's pretty complicated rhythmically between the hands. I just started writing it out, and I'm not going to pretend I know it. I don't. But I remember the left hand. The left hand was pretty cool. But it was very classical. That gets to be very, even though it doesn't sound stylistically classical. Yeah, tough stuff. Anyway, I hope that gives you some insight. We'll talk more about it, and I might start getting into some keyboard harmony, only because it is valuable. Even if you're learning just classical stuff out of a book and you're reading every note of it. You know, there are so many times I tell students, okay, put your hands here. Oh, by the way, that's a C6 chord. I mean, an F6 chord. 4. They're on an F6 chord. And right away, bang. They see it again in another piece. They go, oh, yeah, didn't we do that? Didn't we do that kind of chord? F6. So anyway, have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow. Maybe we'll talk about what makes something hard and how do we deal with that. Okay? It's an interesting topic. So anyway, I'll see you tomorrow, and when words fail, music speaks.